Hi guys, this is O-level chemistry, paper 11, November 2022, question 1. Which row shows the most appropriate apparatus for measurement given? Okay, so option A, 25.0 cm cube of solution and the apparatus uses a measuring cylinder. Just by looking at this, we can easily conclude, yes, we can measure 25 cm cube of a solution using a measuring cylinder. But a more closer look reveals that they have mentioned zero point 0. That means we need to measure it accurately to one decimal place. Now, a measuring cylinder is an apparatus used to measure volume, but it is only used to measure approximate volume, not accurate volume. Accurate measurement of volume is by using a burette or a pipette. Now, when do you use a burette? A burette has values from going from 0 till 50 cm cube, and it has gradations at 0.1 cm cube each. So we can measure to one decimal place on a burette. However, a pipette is another apparatus for measuring accurate volumes, but the volume of a pipette is fixed, which means if there is a 25 cm cube pipette, we can accurately measure only 25 cm cube of the solution. So here they have mentioned that we need to measure 25.0 cm cube of solution. So we can use a pipette for this measurement. A burette can also be used, but there is a pipette with a measurement of 25 cm cube, which is more accurate than using a burette. So the answer here should have been a pipette. So option A is wrong. Option B, 32.7 cm cube solution. Now we need to measure accurately to a decimal place. And we just discussed that measuring accurately to a decimal place is the job of a burette. C, 75 cm cube gas by a gas syringe. So accurate measurement of a volume of gas is by the use of a gas syringe. Another apparatus that can be used to measure gases is a measuring cylinder, but that measurement is not accurate, it's approximate. So 75 cm cube of a gas measured with a gas syringe is appropriate. So this should be the correct answer. Option D, 80 cm cube solution of burette. Again, looking at the value closely, they did not mention the decimal place. That means we just need to measure 80 cm cube approximately. And approximate measurement of a solution is using a measuring cylinder. So for this question, option C is the correct option. Question 2. A liquid X is distilled from a mixture using the apparatus shown. Okay, the apparatus seen here. We have a round bottom flask with an arm. The arm goes into a condenser and then we are collecting the liquid. So this is a distillation apparatus. Okay, during the distillation, the thermometer reads from 157 degrees Celsius to 160 degrees Celsius. Which information about liquid X is correct? Option A, the liquid in X may or may not be miscible. Yes, because the liquid could be polar. One of the liquid components could be polar and the other could be non-polar. And if this is the case, then they will be immiscible. So this option appears correct. Next, X is a mixture that can be separated by distillation. Okay, X collected is a mixture. Okay, the temperature for the boiling points of the liquids in X is too close. It cannot be easily separated by distillation, but rather fractional distillation. So this option is incorrect. C, X must contain two liquids with boiling points 157 degrees Celsius and 160 degrees Celsius. No, there is no evidence of actually showing how many liquids are present in X and whether they have a specific boiling point of 157 and a specific boiling point of 160. Okay, next, X must have been obtained by the fractional distillation of petroleum crude oil. There is no evidence in what is being separated in this experiment. So C and D are completely wrong. B should have been fractional distillation. and A is the most appropriate answer here. So option A is the correct option for this question. Question 3. An aqueous solution contains a salt Y. The addition of an aqueous solution X results in a precipitate being formed that redissolve when more X is added. Okay. So a precipitate being formed that redissolves in a solution. So we have two possibilities. Either we add NaOH dropwise and then in excess, or we add aqueous ammonia dropwise and then in excess. So this is what solution X should be. So let's look at the options. HCl no, H2SO4 no, NaOH yes, NaOH yes. So we've eliminated options A and B so far. What could X and salt Y be? Now, salt Y forms a precipitate that redissolves. So a precipitate that redissolves. If it's NaOH, so the precipitate form could that be that of Al3 positive and that of Zn2 positive, because these both ions will form hydroxides that form a precipitate on adding NaOH dropwise, which will dissolve on addition of NaOH in excess. So option C has copper sulfate present. Copper sulfate in NaOH will form a blue precipitate that will not dissolve on addition of excess NaOH. So this is the wrong option. And option D has zinc sulfate containing zinc ions, which is the correct option. So for this question, option D is correct. Question 4. Which gas diffuses the fastest at the same pressure? Okay, so diffusion of a gas is based on its mass and the temperature used. So greater the temperature, the greater the diffusion. So now we have four options, two of which have a temperature of 25, two of which have a temperature of 50. So the greater diffusion will be that at 50 degrees Celsius, not at 25 degrees Celsius in comparison. So options B and D may contain the correct answer. Now, in option B, we have nitrogen gas present. And in option D, we have oxygen gas present. Now, the fastest diffusion would be of the gas that has the lowest MR. So for nitrogen, the MR is 28, and for oxygen, the MR is 32. So 28 is a lower value than 32, making option B the more appropriate option here. Therefore, nitrogen at 50 degrees Celsius will diffuse the fastest out of the given option. So option B is the correct option for this question. Question 5. The diagram shows the outer shell electrons of the atoms of two elements Q and R. Okay, X is an electron and dotted circle is the nucleus. Okay, so Q has two outermost electrons, so Q belongs to group 2, and R has 2, 4, 6, and 7 outermost electrons, so R belongs to group 7. Okay, the sulfate of Q is insoluble. Sulfate of Q. Okay, it's insoluble. Okay, group 2 sulfates that are insoluble. The only soluble sulfate in group 2 is magnesium sulfate. So this cannot be magnesium, not magnesium. Okay, element R is gaseous at room temperature and pressure. So this belongs to group 7. So these are halogens. Gases are fluorine and chlorine. Bromine is a liquid, iodine is a solid. Okay, which row could be correct? Proton number of Q. Okay, so looking at the periodic table, magnesium has a proton number of 12 and barium has a proton number of 56. So we have already concluded it cannot be magnesium. So options A and B are wrong. So now we have to select between options C and D. Now we move on to the next column, relative atomic mass of R. So for fluorine, it would be 19, and for chlorine, it would be 35.5. So option C has 80, which is for bromine, so this is wrong. And option D has a value of 35.5, which is for chlorine. This is correct. Therefore, for this question, option D is the correct option. Question 6. Which statement about iodine atoms and iodide ions is correct? They are both isotopes of iodine. No, one is an atom, the other is an anion of iodine. So option A is incorrect. Option B, they undergo the same chemical reactions. Iodine is reduced to iodide ions, whereas iodide ions are oxidized to iodine. So they are not undergoing the same chemical reaction. C, they have the same number of protons. Yes, one is an atom, the other is an ion. The only difference would be in the number of electrons present. So the number of protons would be the same. Next, they have the same physical properties. Iodine is a simple molecular solid, whereas iodide ions are part of an ionic lattice. So one is an atom, the other is an ion. So their physical properties are not the same. Therefore, the correct option for this question is option C. Question 7. The element chlorine has two isotopes, Cl35 and Cl37. In the periodic table, chlorine is shown as Cl with the mass of 35.5 and a proton number of 17. Okay, which row shows the correct percentage of each isotope in a sample of naturally occurring chlorine? So we need to remember that Cl35 is to Cl37 exists in a ratio of 3:1, which means 75% of a naturally occurring sample contains the isotope Cl35 and 25% of the sample contains the isotope Cl37. And this is correct because when we calculate the AR of chlorine, which is 35.5, we can get this value by doing the following calculation: 75 upon 100 into 35 plus 25 upon 100 into 37. So we take into account the percentage abundance of each isotope, and then we calculate the weighted mean of the said isotopes, and the answer is 35.5. So percentage of Cl35 is 75 and the percentage of Cl37 is 25, which we have already proved. So option D is the correct option for this question. Question 8. What is the nucleon number of the isotope of uranium? Now we know that the nucleon number is the number of neutrons and protons together, which will be the number present at the top. So this is the nucleon number of uranium, and the one at the bottom is its proton number. So the correct option for this question is option C. Question 9. Silicon dioxide has a giant structure. Each silicon atom is joined to 4 oxygen atoms by covalent bonds. Part of the structure is shown. Which property would silicon dioxide be expected to have? A good conductor of electricity? No, this is a macromolecule. It will not be able to conduct electricity. A high melting point? Yes, a macromolecule is known for having really high melting points. Reacts with hydrochloric acid. This itself is acidic in nature, so it will not react with hydrochloric acid. Rather, it can react with a base when heated with it. So this is also incorrect. And D, soluble in water. Macromolecules are insoluble in water. So based on these, option B is the correct option for this question. Question 10. Elements X and Y react to form compound XY. Element Y has more electron in its outer shell than element X. Compound XY conducts electricity in the molten state. That means the compound XY is an ionic compound. Okay. Which row correctly states the electron change that occurs during the reaction and the type of bonding in compound XY. So the type of bonding is ionic. So already options A and D are selected and B and C have been eliminated. In option A, X donates electrons to Y. Now, if you read the question again, it states element Y has more electrons in its outer shell. So, if it has more electrons, it will not be losing electrons, it will be gaining electrons. So, if element Y is gaining electrons, that means those electrons are coming from element X. Option A says X donates electrons to Y, and option D says Y shares electrons with X. Sharing of electron is in covalent bonding. So, sharing is incorrect, making option A the correct option for this question.